open source in your business. So some of you may know, well, let me introduce myself, right? So my name's Landsman. I founded a company called Userscape. Taylor Otwell of Laravel fame works at Userscape. So we've been involved in open source now for a couple of years. And I wanted to talk a bit about basically the responsibility that companies have in regard to open source. You know, when companies kind of get involved in open source, or not when they get involved, let me put it differently. When devs come to them and say, oh, look, we have an open source library that does the thing we need, right? This is what they think, right? They're like, this is the best. We don't have to pay for anything, right? It's all free. It's free. You know, so Userscape's built on open source software. Both our products make heavy use of it. And I never really liked that kind of feeling, so we used it, and we were really small, and we're still really small, only 7 people. But I always kind of had this inclination of, like, how can we do more to give back? And you know, there's a lot of reasons to get involved in open source, and I'm not going to go into all those reasons. And there's a lot of reasons we got involved in Laravel, and I'm not going to go into all those reasons. But obviously, you know, Taylor's excellent, and Laravel's, you know, a wonderful framework. So there's a lot of great reasons to get involved in open source. But to me, it's about the responsibility of it. So that's what I want to talk about, and I really want to just talk about 2 things. One is funding open source. So this is something that's pretty tricky. You know, it's just hard to fund open source projects. Even like what really got me thinking about this and doing this kind of lightning talk was Heartbleed. And I'm like, there's OpenSSL. Like, we all use OpenSSL every day, all the time. Last year, they got $2,000 in donations, right? Like, there's nobody who works on it full time. Like, it's crazy. It doesn't even make any sense. So I wanted to just touch quickly on funding. The majority will be on something else. But on the funding front, there's a lot of things you can do to fund open source. So there's obviously straight donations, you know, which is fine. It's sometimes tricky for companies to do that. There's design. Like, how many open source projects could use better design? Like, all of them, right? Like, they're all horrible. Now, Laravel wasn't bad when Taylor first joined, but we did end up doing the first kind of revision of Laravel.com at Userscape, and you know, we paid $7,000 to a designer, and they did it, right? So it's not a tremendous amount of money. And you know, it looked great, and it helped with the marketing of the framework, and it was a simple thing to do. You can buy the books of the people who write the open source tools, right? Like, or you can buy their products. A lot of them have things they sell. Some open source tools sell support, so you can buy that support. So I feel like there's these opportunities out there already to fund these open source projects, and that's not always taken advantage of. This one's entirely self-serving, but here it is. So you can use the products of the companies where the open source developers work, right? That's a good one. And like, so it sounds horrible. I was like, I shouldn't even talk about this, but like, really, so we have profit sharing at Userscape. Like, if you buy Snappy, that money goes to Taylor and the rest of the team, right? That's directly going to him. And it lets us, you know, do things like this and help with these things. So it's related. You can hire them, right? So there's a lot of great guys in open source. You can't hire Taylor. You can't hire him. But you could hire, you know, other projects and things. All right, so funding aspect. We'll leave this up a little bit longer, right? Awesome. Like, and you know what's crazy is that that's Arkansas. Like, isn't that crazy? Like, it's crazy. It's beautiful there. Yeah, well, there's tornadoes and rattlesnakes and killer bugs, but besides that stuff. All right, so the real thing I want to talk about is code. So I want to talk a little bit about what we do at Userscape, and I think it works pretty well, and it's something that really people should consider doing more. And basically what we do with Taylor is we have 1 employee for 1 day a week. That's what we do. And we've tried some different ways of scheduling this, and I'll talk about those. But basically, right now, Taylor works every Friday on Laravel, and it works out well. It gives him a chance to do these things and fix bugs and all the things that go on around Laravel. And he does a tremendous amount on his own. So absolutely, he is not doing everything involved with Laravel on user-escape time. But still, it's a day a week where he can just focus on Laravel and not have to do it at night, not have to do it on the weekend. So I wanted to point out a few of the things that have been built by Taylor, partially on user escape time, at least. So Eloquent version 2, which just was awesome. Like, we were trying with the original Eloquent to do what we were trying to do with it, and he went into this crazy hibernation mode where it's just eyes rolled in the back of his head and just created Eloquent version 2. It's insane. I've actually never seen anything like that. It was wild. Okay, so migrations, Blade, queue, events, bundles. Oh man, Eric was in on bundles too, but bundles were awesome. I like the bundles. Composer's good too, but bundles were fun. So thousands of reported issues on GitHub. I mean, it's just continuous there. Many small improvements that we'll just be working on Snappy, and he's like, oh, we should, it should do this, and he goes off and he makes it better, right? So, so all those things have happened at least partially on user escape time, and it's kind of like the yeah but moment, right? But it's you guys in your companies don't have the time for this or the budget, right? It's too complicated to get involved at this level. But if we can do it, you can. User escape is tiny. So I really hope that you go back. If you own a business, you should be thinking about these things. If you work at a business, which I assume most of you do, go back to your manager and talk about these things. I'm going to talk about some more details in a second. But we are a tiny, tiny company, 7 people, less than $1 million in revenue, and we throw a conference with 300 people, and we do a lot of things in the Laravel world, and we employ Taylor. And so I feel like if a company our size can do this, that many, many other companies could be contributing in actual code to, and this is not specific to Laravel, right? This is to any of the open source projects we use to power our businesses. So a lot of people in here probably have 5 developers on their team, in their company. So that's just one dev day out of the week, out of 25 that you have, right? That's you're literally not even going to miss that day. You're not going to miss it. So how to schedule it? These are just some ideas, and we've tried all these. So when Taylor first started, he just worked 2 solid months on Laravel. So this was to get Laravel 3 out. And that's when a lot of Eloquent version 2, and I think Blade was in there, and several of those other kind of big projects. And that's great. If you can dedicate, say, hey, here's a couple months out of the year, that's actually less than 20% of the year, actually. And you can obviously have that time to really crank away on huge features. A week a month, we did this for a long time. We called it Bizarro Week. And so he would just go off for a week and do work on Laravel. And again, it's kind of good for bigger projects. And then day a week, which I think is probably the most practical in a lot of places, but and in Laravel's case, it's great because now that Laravel's matured and we have Packagist and Composer, a lot of it's more about small improvements and bug fixes and things like that. So the day a week is just that continuous. We can work on it and chip away at those things. So I don't want to get too much into what to do. If you're involved in the open source community for whatever project, you're probably aware of deficiencies in those projects that could use improvement. And they could be big, huge things that need doing, and there's protocols for how you go about doing that. I'm definitely not saying everybody should run out and build a giant package and do a huge pull request with 200 files into Laravel tomorrow, right? There's a procedure for that. So you need to think about those things. And again, be in touch with the community and see what needs doing, but there's very few open source projects out there that don't need anything done. So plenty to do. I definitely don't mean this either, right? So don't go into GitHub and be like, oh, I +1 stuff all day in the repo and we contributed. No, that's not really that helpful. So fixing things is what's helpful. So fixing bugs, I think this is really kind of the best one, right? This is the best place to start. So go in there and fix a few bugs. Fix them, write a test for it, send the pull, and that small improvement, right? If every company in here did that once in a while even, think about how many things would be fixed. So that's really a great place to start. I also think it's a great place, if you're a really small company and you just can't afford to do it, or you're an individual who wants to get more involved, just fix one bug a month. Like one bug a month. Go in there and find the stupidest little bug, fix it. It's gonna take you an hour. You're gonna learn more about the project you're working on. You're gonna start to build your reputation in the community. And it's just a great thing to do to give back for these tools that we all depend on basically for our businesses. So just kind of close, we all profit from these tools, right? We depend on them. And I just think it's our responsibility to improve them. And it's just good business to improve them. I think there's business advantages to doing it. So something to think about. Hopefully you guys will give it a little bit of thought. That's it. Thanks.